Welcome to the North Peninsula Democratic Club's Candidates Forum. This is the series today that we are interviewing candidates for a variety of spots. The next interview will be with John Baker, who is a current trustee on the South San Francisco Unified School District, and he is running for a two-year seat and has one opponent, but John is here with us alone today. So let me welcome you, and the process is you'll have an opening statement. We have 3 questions that the forum has provided, and then there's an opportunity for people in the audience to ask additional questions, and then you'll have an opportunity to have a closing statement. So welcome, thank you for being here. And John Baker, your opening statement for 1 minute.
Thank you. I've served on the board for less than 8 months at this point, but I think in those 8 months I've been very good in establishing a record. One of the things that we have as our main issue in the South San Francisco Unified School District is the management of our Measure J school bond. Immediately prior to my joining the board, the board had fired the previous contractor, and there needed to be a reevaluation of the entire process. I threw myself into that process to try and get good work from our new bond manager. I served as a liaison to the communities of the 2 schools that were affected by the stop in construction, because I think that transparency and openness is one thing that we previously were missing. Finally, in that 8 months, I established a procedure to broadcast our board meetings online, a procedure that cost only $20 per year. So I believe I have an established record, and given a longer term, I hope to work on and continue that record.
All right, thank you for that. We have 3 questions that were constructed and were handed to me. I've not seen them until an hour ago. So here is the first one. Recently, there has been discussions about what to do with a $1 million community benefit funds that has come from a residential development project near Airport Boulevard. What would you like to see that money used for, the $1 million?
I'd like to see that, the name of those funds are community development funds, so I'd like to see them used on something that benefits the entire community, not just schools, not just the city, but something that can be used for both. Ideally, I think one of the places that could be used are our school fields. We have several fields that are in disrepair that could be used as public parks if set up the right way. They could be used as Little League diamonds, soccer fields, etc. So rather than investing them in one-time purchase of equipment, I'd like to see them be truly used as a community benefit for our fields, both the establishment and for ongoing maintenance.
Okay. When an after-school program at Alta Loma Middle School was shut down by the school district, I think citing a $15,000 annual cost, there was an understanding that these programs would be absorbed by other after-school programs, particularly with the Boys and Girls Club, and that the district would provide transportation, I think, to the Boys and Girls Club's location. Could you comment on or let me, I guess, finish the rest of the question. Do you feel this solution will adequately cover the loss of the after-school program at Alta Loma, knowing that there's currently a 16-person waiting list at the Boys and Girls Club?
It was disappointing to us that that program closed too. I would like to clarify that that was the Boys and Girls Club's decision. We had to set up the framework for that program to continue. We had to set the money aside, and they notified us that because of the limited facilities there, as well as the limited budget, that they would rather integrate that program into their home base at Orange Park. And it is disappointing because, as noted there, after-school care in general, not just at our middle schools, is at a premium. We need more space. And the board is committed to transporting, but unfortunately, there are logistical barriers. The school district can fund the buses, but do a lot of parents want their children on a bus every after school? Right. They would certainly rather have it at Alta Loma. If we can find some means to accommodate both, the Boys and Girls Club's concerned or establish our own program, that would be great. But in the meantime, we have to yield to what the Boys and Girls Club's wishes are.
Thank you for clarifying that. I think there was some thought that it was the school district that closed the program, not the Boys and Girls Club. All right, thank you. The third question, there's no need for rebuttal because you're not going to
I could change
There you
seats.
go. Right. And I'm not going to fill that role. Genentech will receive a multi-million-dollar tax refund for major developments that are planned on near Oyster Point. Actually, it's a tax rebate for existing facilities. What financial impact could this have on the school district and the district finances? The fact that there's going to be a rebate of previously paid taxes. I guess specifically, will it have an effect on basic aid status that the district currently has, and going forward, will that have an ongoing effect?
Yeah, as you mentioned, we are a basic aid district, and we made that transition our previous school year. And our district accountants remind us we are right now currently on the cusp. It could teeter either way. So any rebate of that sort is concerning. However, that is also in conjunction with new projects that have been approved in other parts of town. Now, those aren't going to get the multi-million dollars that the Genentech project would, but right now our accountants say there's very little impact. And one of the things we hope to do with Genentech is convince them, hey, you're getting this huge rebate. Why not use some of that money that you would have spent on taxes and have some more direct input? We are still a very segregated town if you count in terms of east of 101 and west of 101. We want to have a closer relationship with our east side techs and biotechs. And Genentech very recently contributed towards the construction of a science garage at South San Francisco High that will help both of our high schools, and some money that will help with the programs. If they can help us in those ways to counter the losses of tax revenue, I think the district will do well.
Great. Okay. An opportunity for people in the audience, if you have questions for Trustee Baker about the South San Francisco Unified Schools. No. Okay. Well, I have a couple.
Sure.
Just to sort of clarify some of the issues. The school board meeting earlier this week, there was a long discussion, I think, led by you, as a matter of fact, on lights at the El Camino High School football field. Given the fact that there are shortfalls in other schools, does it make sense to add lights to a football field that would host 5 games a year?
That's a good question. And one of my justifications in that field was that this is a community benefit field. Yes, there's 5 home games, hopefully if they make the playoffs, maybe one or two more. But beyond that, this is a field that could be used for youth soccer programs. It could be used for youth football programs. It could be rented out. And one of my questions during that discussion were, what are the potential impacts if we were to rent that field out, use it for not only other teams at the school, but use it for other teams in the community? Could it be a revenue generator? And if so, would we have to go and do further environmental reports? Another thing to consider is that the lights are being covered by our contract with Optera. They are being taken out of our energy savings that we're predicting from the solar panels that we are having in the same contract. So it's not coming out of general fund money. So that is I think a mitigating factor in that regard.
All right, and then one last question. This all, of course, all occurred before you came on the board, but there was a taking of $10 to $11 million from the general fund to backfill some of the Measure J shortfalls. And what kind of effect will the loss of that money, or the transfer of general fund money, which are used primarily for general activities, what will that have going out forward in terms of the fiscal stability of the district?
Well, it's going to have an immediate effect in a couple ways. One, the whole Measure J bond has been a problem in that it was hard to manage. It's not been an equitable bond. We have 3 schools on our east side that aren't even going to be touched by the original bond. One of them is, of course, going to be covered by the $10 million that we took out of the general fund. But it's a matter of equity. These are schools that have high English learner populations, are on the east side of town, whereas the first schools that we worked on were on the west side of town. So that's going to be a hole in our finances for a long time, especially since those 2 schools on the east side that aren't getting touched under either the bond or the money to be taken aside will eventually need work, will eventually need renovations, and to be an equitable district, we're going to have to find money to cover those. So unfortunately, it's not going to be backfilled anytime soon, and that is a disappointment to me.
Yeah, again, this all occurred before you were a board member, and the decisions on which schools would be done, again, predates your tenure on the board. All right, with that, excellent answers, by the way. You have 1 minute on the closing. I can't hear you.
I have a question if you want one.
Sure, we've got a little time with a single candidate.
Your school district is interesting. I'm learning all about safe routes to schools. What has your district and what has your board done to encourage bicycling and non-car transportation to the schools, both by teachers, administrators, and students? And how can you coordinate with Daly City and those of us that are south of you?
I will tell you that our school district's efforts in those regards have been huge disappointments to me. I am, as far as I know, the only person in an elected capacity in San Mateo County who regularly takes a bicycle to his board meetings or public transit. I just yesterday took my daughter to work on a bike, to school on a bike trailer tied up behind my bike. And unfortunately, I was the only one. There's not any bike racks at her school. We have been not availing ourselves of the available grant funds, such as from the Safe Routes to School program. One of my fellow board members who was appointed at the same time, Dana Luhan, used to head that program for the county. My goal is to increase alternative transportation, to work with Samtrans, to work with the CCAG, and try and get some Measure A funds to get bike routes along our streets, to maybe get bike racks at our schools, in order to increase alternative transportation to them.
Sure. I'd love to have more time to talk, but I want to thank you. Let's see, you did the closing statement, so I want to thank you for...
No, I interrupted before the closing statement.
Now you have a chance to do your 1 minute closing statement.
If I'm given the chance to return, I want to focus on 3 issues that are dear to my heart. One is I am a parent of a child with high functioning autism. I had to fight for correct placement during his entire school career up to this point. I want to ensure that our parents who don't have the resources that my wife and I have, and my wife is an attorney, so she knew all the ins and outs, but the general public doesn't know those ins and outs. I want to make it easier for those parents to get the proper placement. I want to get some more equitable coverage in our school bond. I want to work on some of those east side schools that we mentioned. We have a school bond up on the same ballot in November. If that ballot passes, if that bond passes, I want to get our district in line for some of those monies to get those schools that were missed. And finally, I'd just like to continue to improve our academic standards. We have, as I said earlier, a real divide east and west, both east and west of 101 and east and west of El Camino in our school district. We want to make sure that all sides are contributing their fair share, and we are eventually turning out graduates that those east side biotech companies want to handle, as well as having schools that they can move their kids into in order to cut down on traffic. Thank you.
Right. All right, thank you on behalf of the North Peninsula Democratic